Hello and welcome to Building the Premier Accounting Firm. This is dedicated for those individuals who would like to have a successful accounting, bookkeeping, and tax business. It's in this show that we dedicate our time to helping accounting professionals confidently and competently offer quality accounting services to get paid what they're worth. Each of these episodes is directed towards the owners of these accounting businesses to give tips and tricks on what they can do to actually have the premier accounting service in their area. Now, as for the topics, we'll cover things such as marketing, lead generation. We'll go into staff training, client onboarding, client retention, workflow, tips and tricks that come from the experts as to what it is you should consider doing in your business to, in fact, have a successful accounting business. Now, this podcast is intended to help you to become an accountrepreneur, to work on your business, and actually benefit from weekly advice from the experts. So I encourage you to subscribe and listen to our other episodes. Today, I am your host, Roger Connect. I am the president of Universal Accounting Center, and for more than 20 years, I've been working with accounting professionals to help them both start and build their successful accounting businesses. I've done this with individuals not only throughout the United States, but around the world, and I invite you to listen in and actually enjoy the conversations that you're able to experience in each and every episode. Today, we have a special guest, someone I'm knowing that you're going to actually enjoy listening to. It's Jenny Beynon. And Jenny happens to be someone I know personally. I've known her for some time now, and she's someone that's interesting because she has, I think, a lot of the characteristics that you may also have in your own life. For example, she has a bachelor's degree in accounting and more than a decade of experience as a tax preparer and accountant. She actually is an active enrolled agent, which means that she is unrestricted in which taxpayers she can represent before the IRS. As a trained tax strategist, Jenny helps small business owners and individuals keep more of their hard-earned money. Her personal experience as a business owner gives Jenny a unique perspective on the challenges that many business owners face. She lives in Riverton, Utah with her husband and youngest 2 of 5 children. Jenny likes to throw herself into whatever project she is working on, whether it is finding the best way to help her clients save money on their taxes or refinishing furniture in her downtime. She puts it all to good work. Now, she works for and is one of the owners of Paramount. It's a professional tax and accounting firm that utilizes licensed professionals to provide valuable tax and accounting services to individuals and businesses. Paramount Tax and Accounting was first opened in Utah in 2008. As a business grew, the founder of the company actually needed help managing his workload, and Jenny was the first preparer he hired to actually help manage the tax prep load. She then moved from being tax prep into the administrative accounting and bookkeeping. Several years later, after experiencing exponential growth, the owners of Paramount Tax and Accounting decided to franchise the business to allow others the opportunity to achieve success under the Paramount brand. In 2019, Jenny purchased the Paramount Tax Accounting West Jordan branch, and with that, the first tax season opened for her business in 2019 and then the season of 2020. She, with that, created many challenges for herself and needed to pivot in offering and doing hybrid tax preparation. So obviously the pandemic had its effect, and having made it through these challenging first few years, the 2020 tax season was a relief. Learning how to actually network with others in different fields and take advantage of the opportunities to actually help them was instrumental for her second successful tax season. So first of all, Jenny, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Roger. I appreciate you having me on.
Yeah, this is going to be actually a good discussion. I'd like to start with a little bit of history. Tell me, you got your degree in accounting, and obviously you were later drawn towards tax. What actually appealed to you about the accounting profession?
You know, it's funny. I never thought I'd be an accountant. After high school, I just went straight into being a mom. I was a stay-at-home mom for 15 years. I didn't think about working. I just wanted to be a mom. But about 15 years into being a mom, a family friend who was also my mentor was the founder of Paramount Tax and Accounting, and he asked if I wanted to help with some tax prep. I had always done our family finances and did our own taxes and figured it wouldn't be hard. So I started working with him on that. And it just came really natural to me. He wanted to have me do some bookkeeping after a couple of years of helping with the tax prep. So he taught me bookkeeping, and I kind of was off from there. When my youngest went into full day school, I was going to take a few classes for math just to help my kids in math. And my my mentor suggested, well, if you're going to take classes, why don't you go to school?
Well, that sounds like an obvious thing. Why don't you just kind of do it seriously? So I'm going to ask kind of an interesting question here because I don't know how many people can relate to this, but initially I could see you stepping into the position that you did as a tax preparer and then later evolving into the accounting. And I would imagine that you initially didn't consider yourself necessarily a tax preparer. You just saw it as work and you were just doing tasks. Where in this whole process did it finally dawn on you, I'm actually a tax preparer, I'm an accountant or a bookkeeper, and have that epiphany from maybe this wasn't a profession, it was just kind of a job, but now I'm seeing myself as a professional?
That's an interesting question because I think it was probably about 5 years into it I was when I was working for this small company doing their bookkeeping. I was a contractor with them, so I considered them my client. I didn't have other clients at that time, but I was doing a lot for them. And once I'd finished school, I kind of asked myself that question: Am I an accountant now? What makes me an accountant? So having, in that experience, having that time working through it and realizing this is something I'm good at, this is something that I enjoy, this is something that I want to provide for other people. I think probably, halfway through my experience, about 5 years into it, I decided, I felt like this is me, this is who I am, and this is what I want to do for people.
Now, having that epiphany, I think, is quite important because a lot of people just see this as a job and don't embrace it as in fact a profession, being a tax professional, being a bookkeeping professional, being an accounting professional. You're obviously an enrolled agent, so you went the entire distance with this and became that enrolled agent. But here's something that's quite interesting. You're working for this employer, you're doing very well, you're taking on a number of responsibilities. When they decided to now franchise, what gave you the idea of, I'm going to now not just be a tax professional, a bookkeeping professional, but I want to now be a business owner? That's a totally different mind shift. It's literally going out on your own. What conjured up the idea of, hey, I want to do my own thing now?
The funny thing is that it's kind of been a little bit of a bone of contention between my husband and me, because he's a serial entrepreneur and I have kind of that traditional risk averse personality that you find among accountants. And so he always was doing something different and wanting me to do something different. It was several years after Paramount started franchising that I actually decided to purchase my franchise. And it was after, honestly, a lot of thought and prayer, and the timing was just right. I opened my office just in time for my husband's business failed with COVID, and so my office was able to keep us going. So it was kind of a cool thing, but it was, honestly, I feel like it was inspiration because I'm kind of a rebellious person. If someone tells me what to do, I have a hard time doing the thing they want me to do. So it had to be my own idea.
Uh-huh.
So yeah, it's one of those things that, he always really wanted me to do it. And I didn't want to. I was averse to that risk.
So what was it like to go from, let's call it a stable income, a traditional job, to now having a household where both of you were entrepreneurs? You were both out on your own. Was that something of a stress that actually both of you felt?
Well, to be honest, my income when I was working, he was making great money being a long haul truck driver, and my income was extra. It was savings. So when I started, we weren't expecting to be dependent on my income. So when we actually became dependent on my income, it really was, as someone who was the mom and kind of the dependent of my husband for a lot of years, and he was the main breadwinner. It really is a huge shift into me being the main breadwinner, and he's doing other things now. But we're a lot more on equal footing, and there is, especially as an accountant, where a lot of us have kind of a risk averse. We really are careful in how we do things. To take that on was really scary. We had to really take a step into the dark with faith that it would work.
Yeah, I can definitely understand that. So let's talk about your first year then. You talk about this leap into the dark and the faith that it took. How was that first year different than you expected? Because you had worked for the franchise, you'd done the work for years. You're just opening up your own new office. It can't be too different, but I would imagine it was. I mean, there's definitely a mind shift that takes place when it's now your own office. What was different about that first year that you didn't expect?
Well, there's a few different things that, as working as a preparer for for the franchise main office, I was not the professional. They have a system where they have kind of data entry where we have somebody who is not a professional that will enter information, and then we'll have the professional come in and review it and have a conversation with the client. So I was not in the role of being in charge, if you will. So that
Uh-huh.
was one shift where I had to, in my own office, I was in charge. So, and that was something that certainly it takes some getting used to. If you're an introvert, I'm a little bit of an introverted extrovert, if you will.
Okay.
So I love to talk to people, but it takes me a minute to get going. So it can be a little bit difficult. So that was a little bit of a stress. But then just having that first year was building clientele. I think building clientele was by far the biggest issue, worry, concern, because where was I going to get these people? Thankfully, the franchise gave me kind of a list of people that had used their office that were in. I have zip codes with my franchise, and I was able to reach out to them.
Mm-hmm.
But that building clientele, that's like I think that's just the biggest hurdle to overcome.
So when you started the business, this was pre-COVID, and you go into starting your business, it has its own challenges, like you shared, getting clients and so forth that you weren't responsible for when you were just going to the day job. Now, all of a sudden, you've got this office, you're assigned a certain geographical area with the zip codes, you need to get your own clients, and COVID comes. How was
Yeah.
COVID a disruption to this whole process?
Oh man, I think everybody, we all can say if something was terrible, we can just blame it on COVID, right?
Yeah, COVID. It's all COVID.
so, traditionally, most people are most comfortable coming into an office. They don't want to just, especially those in the older generations. They want to be there with you when you're doing their taxes. Taxes are very sensitive. It's very personal, and they want to know who you are. They don't want to just give you your stuff, give you their stuff. They want to meet you and know that you're going to be doing the best for them. So that was a huge challenge where I'm trying to build clientele with new clients. If I had a clientele already built, it would have been a little easier to pivot and to just say, okay, guys, we need to do everything online to protect, just be careful with COVID. But I had to, and granted, everybody was making these same pivots. So I think that did make it a little easier. But we really, after March, I did everything remotely and really relied on the client to trust me. I had to put myself out there as a trustworthy person. And so, there's the biggest part of that was building my Google reviews, because that's where people, we don't ask the person, our neighbors, so much anymore, or family members. We go to Google. Google is where we get our personal references now. So building that was, I think, a huge help to me actually getting clients in that first year. But it kind of trickled in through the year. Since we had that extended deadline, there were so many things that were different about the 2019 tax season in 2020 that are, they're just, you almost just say, let's have a mulligan, just a do-over.
Oh yeah, no, it was definitely unique, especially when they pushed the tax season out into July. That was a surprise, definitely. So here's something that you just shared with me yesterday, and I think it's akin to what you're describing. And it's this client that you ended up having to go visit, and it's kind of like doctors going out to do doctor's visits, house calls. And you found that there are some clients that obviously can't come to your office, and they have certain situations that cause them to come for you to go to them. Tell us a little bit about that and why you felt that was a good experience.
Right. Well, so at the beginning, so with the pandemic, we all had this pivot. We all had to figure out how to work remotely. So one of the things that I had decided at the beginning of this tax year that I wanted to be able to do was to be able to go to people who can't come to me. My office is up a long flight of stairs. So right off the bat, there's a certain percentage of people who aren't going to be able to manage that. So whether it was meeting people in the parking lot and taking their information or going to their home, I wanted to make sure I had a setup that allowed me to do that, to go into their home, to help them out. There's not a lot of people who are willing to do that because, we have our three huge monitors in front of us, and it's a little harder to work on a laptop in someone's bedroom of a convalescent person who can't get out of bed. But it's rewarding. You know that you're the only one who's going to help them. You build client loyalty. They tell other people about you. I mean, it feeds the soul in a lot of different ways.
This is, again, a people business. At the end of the day, I think there's the assumption that it's all about the numbers, but it is still a people business. And I like the one-on-one care that you're giving. And this goes to the Google reviews that you were mentioning a moment ago, because the social proof that really can impact our business are those reviews that we get online. And so often it's not just the quality of the work that we're performing, but it's the relationship, it's the interaction that the client's having with us that they want to speak about. I enjoyed it. I felt cared for. I felt taken care of. It's the feeling. And if they feel like they're getting the quality of service that they're paying for or better, they're willing to share that. And that's where we're getting those reviews that we're looking for. Now, you actually saw the change in the tax season. You had to pivot, as you've already described. Are there any other adaptations that you've made in the tax services that you're offering to kind of accommodate this new world we're in?
The tax services that I offer have not really changed. We have a very specific, not necessarily a niche, but we really like to help the small business owners who have been filing as a Schedule C, who could benefit from having an LLC and filing it as an S corp. That's really where we love to help those people, because it's such a huge difference in their lives to save so much money by filing that way. But from other things that really we have. This year, we opened up to you could come in person and do everything paper the old-fashioned way. You could send me all of your stuff on a client portal, and I can do it completely online, whether we just communicate through email or Zoom. Or we could do a hybrid method, anything in between, where they send as much information as they're comfortable with up front, and then I'm able to go over it with them when they come in. Really, it's the big thing about 2020. The 2020 tax year, this year in 21, has been that there were so many changes, and we had the American Rescue Plan that came out mid-tax season. And so learning that and staying abreast of all of that, I tried to listen to podcasts, read blogs. I even had clients who came in when they came in and said, "Hey, I heard about this thing just on the news when I was coming in," and gave me an update on what was happening. So really reaching out in all the different ways that you can to find information, even the software updates from our tax software, all of that has information to help you understand what's going on. And then, a lot of it happens just through almost personal experience. We have the unemployment exclusion created a situation with the state returns that we've just recently become aware of. And it was through personal situation with my kids, who I filed first, of course, that we're now learning this stuff up ahead. So my personal experience with myself, my family, and then my clients helps me to help my other clients. I take that experience and use it to help my other clients in their needs.
Well, I think what you're demonstrating there is that we're not just tax preparers, we're tax professionals. Each and every year, there's some nuance that we have to be updated on. We have to stay current on the laws, and with that, be able to take that information to help our clients, whether individuals or businesses, use what they can to strategically and legally reduce their tax liabilities. And so there's something to be said about being a tax professional enjoying what we do, but taking it seriously so that we can really help the clients we service. So I like how you're describing that. So I've got a question regarding your own business. I know you also offer accounting services. What percent of your revenue or business is bookkeeping, accounting related versus tax services?
I would say at this point, it's that percentage is pretty small. I really focused on tax in my first year, and now here in my second year, I'm starting to pick up on that bookkeeping. I'm hoping to build that, but currently it's probably less than 25%, maybe even 15%. I would have to run. I haven't seen the most recent numbers, but it's a pretty small percentage. It's hard sometimes to keep up on that bookkeeping during tax season. When tax season runs longer, it makes it harder to serve your bookkeeping clients properly. I've just hired somebody to help with the bookkeeping. So it is something that I'm picking up. It's something that I am wanting to build. It would be great if it was 50%, if we had tax season and then we had the other 50% for the other 9 months of the year.
Yeah, very true. So with that being said, you've got obviously as an entrepreneur, which I refer to as an accountrepreneur, good times and bad times. What's some of the passion that fills that void when you need to tap into that inner self and kind of get through the challenges that you may be facing? What are you passionate about as you're actually working and doing the business that you do?
Oh, that's an interesting question. I would really say one of my biggest passions is just I get a thrill when I'm able to save someone some money. When listening to those clients, hearing their needs, and then taking that information and adding it to their tax return or into their bookkeeping situation, understanding what they want, but that thrill to be able to say, I just saved somebody $5,000. I'm getting somebody a tax refund of $10,000 by reformatting the way that their business is being filed on their taxes. That is kind of my thrill. That's the thing that it gets me excited. It's the thing I go home and talk to my husband about.
I love it. Not only is that something that you can be excited about, but your clients appreciate it. That's something that I'm sure they're pleasantly surprised to hear you say. So that's wonderful.
Right.
Let's talk about niches. You kind of alluded to this earlier. A lot of times in these conversations, we hear people talking about how they specialize. Have you in your business catered towards any particular group that you're trying to specialize in?
And that's something that I've really been thinking about. It's something I've been reading about and learning about, that I know that I would like to choose a market niche. Currently, my niche really is that small business owner that is just on the verge where they're making too much money on their Schedule C and it's costing them a lot. So it's not quite the same kind of niche as, truck drivers or lawyers or something like that. But it's a small group of people that we really like to help them. It's that situation I talked about a second ago with those clients that we're able to really help a lot. We can go back a year or two and get huge refunds when they've been filing as a Schedule C, and then we switch them over to an S Corp.
Gotcha. No, you're right. It's not necessarily an industry niche that you've identified, but it's definitely a specialty service that you're able to provide. So I like that. What do you feel distinguishes you or differentiates you from other accounting professionals or other accounting services? Is there anything that's unique about your office?
The thing that I hear from a lot of people when they come in is, I just feel like a number. At the last place I went to, my last accountant, they didn't listen to me. They rushed me through. I really think it's critically important for my clients to feel heard, and then also for them to understand what I'm doing for them and why, so they can make better decisions for their lives and their businesses. So, I think that one of those big things is like you're talking about, this really is a personal business. Taxes are personal. They're intimate. It is a deep issue. And so people want to feel heard. They want to feel important. And that's one of my big things is what I stress, is that the client needs to feel important. They need to feel heard, and I need to do the best for them.
When you talk about taxes being a personal thing, I'd like to emphasize that a little bit more. One of the things that I feel we sometimes forget, I think we know this, but we just don't have it top of mind, is it's very likely as a tax professional, you know more about this person's finances than possibly a spouse, definitely family members and friends, definitely more than the neighbors know, definitely more than the colleagues know. There's so many people that are in this person's day-to-day life that has no clue as to what they're actually doing financially. I know that some families and friends are a little bit more freely giving of what they're doing income wise and so forth. But oftentimes my experience tells me that there's a lot of people getting dividends and investments, and they have, side incomes, but it's also just the W-2 that they're receiving, or maybe if they have their own business, how their business is technically doing financially, that in some instances the spouse may not know, or family members and friends have no clue. People can be very private about what their income is, and yet here they are with you as the tax preparer, just needing to be all out there. This is how much I'm making. This is what I'm doing. What can we do about strategy? And so you may actually be the one only individual. Maybe a financial planner perhaps knows, maybe the accountant if they're a business owner and they're actually working with an accounting professional, or you're that same person as well. But think of how unique the conversation is that we're having with these people and how private it is for so many of them.
Right. It is. It's huge. It's something that we definitely need to earn their trust. We need them to understand. Not only are we going to those those private, almost sometimes secret things, they're safe with us. We can have that conversation, we can take care of them and give them that advice. And yeah, it definitely is. It's a huge thing. There's a lot of people who don't share any information about their finances with anybody. So to have that trust, we really need to earn it.
That's right. And once we have it, we've got to respect the fact that we've got it and retain it. So that's very true. Let's talk about your business for a moment. I like asking this next question simply because I'm always very curious as to how the person responds. And it's really you reflecting back a few years to when you were considering starting your business. And in hindsight, the challenges that you're going to face. In reality, the problems that are going to come. What would you say to that younger self that would be advice? I mean, you're today successful, you've got your business, it's established, you're doing well. You obviously were able to provide for your family, but looking back at your younger self as they considered starting the business, what advice would you have for yourself regarding the challenges you would face, what you would do differently or better? What was a priority that you neglected that maybe you should have focused on? What would you say to yourself?
I tend to be a really easygoing person, laid back. I'm not pushy. So, but as a new business owner, if I had to go back, the thing I would tell myself is, yes, be patient, but push for your needs. Be the squeaky wheel. There are times when you're starting something new and there are people that you need help from, and you have people who are your mentors or who are the support team where they have a lot going on. And if you aren't the squeaky wheel, you may not be oiled. So you have to stand up and you have to make yourself heard, even if that is the most uncomfortable thing. And it'll get better. Not only being the squeaky wheel and speaking up for yourself, but the business itself, it will get better and you'll get more comfortable with what you're doing. It will get better. It's not always going to be this uncomfortable. I think that there's a huge level for a lot of people, a huge level of discomfort when they're starting something new like that. We've really stepped out of our comfort zone. We're starting something different and getting the hang of it. We do get the hang of it. It does happen. It will get better.
I love that advice. I think everybody needs to always be reminded, well, not everybody, but many of us, that we need to realize we're our own voice. And if we don't speak up, we're not going to be heard. And sometimes we just need to find that energy within ourselves to stand up straight and speak our mind, whether it be to a client or to a vendor or, somebody that needs to pay us. I mean, there's just a variety of situations, one of which is definitely getting clients, just the confidence of being able to say, I can take care of you. So great advice. Thank you for that. Let's talk about your clients and the work that you've been doing. You've alluded to this a little bit. Can you share with us a story where you actually feel you made a difference or an impact in the client's life And really, it was that success, that home run that you were hoping you would always have. And in fact, you did it. So what kind of story could you share with us about that?
I had a client come in and they'd created their LLC the year before, but they hadn't done anything with it. Um, they'd paid, I think $20,000 in taxes to the IRS the previous year, and they were looking at another like $15,000 in the current year. Um, I looked at it. We were able to go back to the year before, take their LLC because it existed. We were able to file retroactively the S election and create an S corp for them. That cut their self-employment tax by about 75%, and they are getting a $12,000 refund on the previous year tax return, and then getting back a couple $1,000s for the current year, which they had expected to pay, $12,000 or $13,000. And not only that, but helping them understand what they need to keep track of and how to, a lot of clients will come in at the end of the year and they've got a stack of receipts, or they don't have anything and they don't know what they needed to bring. They don't know what's deductible. Helping people with setting up a QuickBooks account, doing some training with them on their QuickBooks account, or sending them even just like a spreadsheet worksheet that is helpful for them to be able to, if they have not a lot of stuff, but to be able to keep track of things, to teach them a little bit about that managing side of their business, where they maybe don't have enough business to justify having an accountant or a bookkeeper, but they need to know how to do it well enough on their own to not have that scramble at the end of the year, and to make sure they're getting all of the deductions that they are due, and that their tax situation is the best it can be at the end of the year, teaching them at the beginning how to make that happen.
Perfect, perfect. Well said. So now I want to ask personally, you kind of shared with us at the beginning how your husband was affected by COVID with his business, how your business, in essence, thrived. How have you personally seen your life change in these last few years as you've run your business? And what are some of the benefits that you found that maybe are a surprise to you that you didn't expect?
Um, Speaking as someone who was a full-time stay-at-home mom for 15 years, the conversations you have, even with working 5 years part-time in business, there still is, I don't know what to call it, kind of a holdover of the mom language. And mom language, unfortunately, nothing against moms. Like I said, I was a full-time stay-at-home mom for 15 years. I think it's a fantastic thing. It was super important for us. But being in my own business and the networking I do, my language has changed. I have changed the way I speak. I am more confident. I am more understanding of people and their businesses. And in some ways, being a mom really helped me. The intuition, the having to deal with multiple things at the same time. Some of that definitely transferred over into being a business owner and doing this work for clients. But really, I think that the way the business has helped me in my confidence levels and my ability to talk in front of people and to speak to people and know what I'm talking about it's been huge. It's, honestly, my self-esteem is probably one of the biggest differences in me, is that I'm far more confident than I was before.
Yes, I'd have to agree with you. You're well spoken. I think you carry yourself very well. And there's that professional air that comes about you and others when we get into our roles like this. And I think you've embraced it very well. So, regarding your children, what do you hope they're seeing in you that they're maybe learning as they witness this transformation in you? What do you think? What do you hope your children are getting out of this experience as you are their mother going on this path?
That's an interesting question. especially where, I was their mom and I didn't work all through their growing up years, for them now to see me as a professional and stepping into a different role and having this information as I went to school and I did my studying for my enrolled agent status, to have them see me as someone who's successful, someone who is working hard, and not quitting early, not giving up, but continuing to work until I find the solution for something. It actually took a few years for all of my kids to come over having me do their tax returns, and I've just started doing my daughter's boyfriend's returns and saving him quite a bit of money on how he was doing it. He's a barber and self-employed. And so he was paying a lot of self-employment taxes. And, so for my kids to see that and have that experience with me as a professional, and then to be able to say, hey, my mom's good at this. I want to share this, and I want to tell people that they should do this. And, it's kind of that's one of the great things. I had an experience last summer when we were getting rid of boulders in our yard and just giving them away for free. And someone came to get some, and we struck up the topic of tax. And my youngest ran inside and got my business card to give to these people. And it was just like wow, something sticking, that she's understanding that, this is how we share our business information and how we help other people. I did end up getting them as clients, and, it's kind of cool how we pick up people wherever we go. And that's something good for my kids to learn, is that they can talk about these things to other people. And I like them having pride in me.
I'm just very proud of what you just shared. As a parent, there's a lot to be said when your children start to not only emulate a lot of the positive things that we do, but get inspired and kind of embrace what we do. One of the things that I emphasize a lot in some of the conversations I have with business owners, entrepreneurs and such, is how often the family doesn't really understand what we do. For the longest time, I would ask my children or my spouse what I did, and I was always surprised at the answer of, well, I think you do this. I'm like, that's not even what I do. Or more importantly, that's just a fraction of what I do. So it's nice to see them, like you were describing, getting to that point where they can run into the house and get the business card because they knew this is a person that could benefit from what your services are. So that is amazing. I love it.
Right.
So let me do this. I want to kind of break away from this business discussion and just ask you a few quick personal questions. I'm curious, as a business owner, you're doing all of these things. Do you have a pet peeve?
It's funny. My husband, we had this conversation because I'm such an easygoing person. It's hard for me to think of something. And I was actually up last night. I woke up in the middle of the night. Oh yeah, that's my pet peeve. When somebody fidgets and they bounce their foot, if I'm touching them, it drives me insane. And if they happen to be next to a table and it bounces the table, oh, that is like the worst pet peeve. It just drives me insane. Just the bounce.
The tapping, the bouncing. Okay, so
yeah.
I might on occasion annoy you then. So if and when we're near one another again, I'll try and stop tapping or whatever. How about this? With regards to food, do you have a go-to food that is a nice comfort food for you?
Oh, steak. I love a good steak, medium rare, with blue cheese crumbles. It is.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, I could always go for a good steak cooked by someone else.
All right. So with regards to travel, where is a place that is not near you, but when you travel, you like to go eat? Oh,
that's an interesting question. I mean, we really rely a lot on the Texas Roadhouse. We have a dive that we love. It's called El Rancho Grande. It's a little dive back when we first got married in that neighborhood where we live, and we drive a half an hour out of the way to go there occasionally. It's kind of a little, it fills our hearts, as we used to go there with friends all the time, and it's really good Mexican food.
Perfect. I like that. Here's the next one. Regarding a mentor, someone in your life, perhaps parents, maybe a teacher, a coach, somebody that you had in your life that really impacted you and is someone that you maybe reflect on or use their influence to help you with the decisions you make today?
I mentioned earlier when I decided to go to school, the founder of the Paramount Tax and Accounting, he really, when I reflect on my life, the last 10 years of my life, and the decisions I've made, he's been instrumental in a lot of them. I mean, that question of, well, if you're going to go to school, you might as well just go to school, and the complaint that, well, that'll take 4 or 5 years. Well, yeah, but how much time is going to pass if you don't go to school? So something that you enjoy, go after it. He's been someone who has really, he's pushed me, he's taught me, he's, given me difficult files for tax returns that I didn't think I could do, but I learned a ton from it because he said, I know you can do this. He's been instrumental in the last 10, 11 years of my life in just about everything that I've done.
I love it. What I'd like to do now is actually just kind of summarize a lot of what we've been discussing and share some of my highlights of what Jenny shared, and then ask for a closing thought, because I think this conversation today has just been amazing. So let me go ahead and start the summary, if I may, first with a mention of our sponsors, and just encourage you to take advantage of this. As listeners, you can go to the episode description and find more information about these things so that you can actually apply some of these various things in your business and see what you can do to actually leverage these to build the premier accounting firm in your area. What I heard actually her speaking about is things regarding, first of all, becoming a professional tax preparer. If this is something that you'd like to do where you can specialize both in individual and business returns, I invite you to actually learn more what you can do to become a professional tax preparer, as well as she brought up QuickBooks. She was speaking of clients actually perhaps not being at a point where they can employ or hire someone to do the bookkeeping, but definitely need to stay on top of those records so that they can get to the tax season and not necessarily be in a position of panic. What it is you can do to be a QuickBooks specialist, and as a QuickBooks specialist, help your clients as they're actually trying to record the transactions themselves, or perhaps actually taking on that responsibility and offering those services as well. The other thing I would also suggest is we've talked a little bit about marketing and growing the business. Jenny shared with us some of the things that she was actually doing at the beginning when she was needing to start her business and get clients. And so admittedly with that, you should learn what you should be doing to manage the contacts you're getting through a CRM and what that actually looks like. The various technologies you can use for calendaring your appointments, maintaining the contacts you have and staying in contact with them, basically nurturing them to the point of becoming clients of your own. And for that reason, I invite you to actually participate in a webinar where we talk about the technologies that are available for accounting professionals to really leverage their time and the technologies out there to get the clients you deserve. So with that, go to the episode description and there find the information you need regarding the webinar, the professional tax preparer, and as well QuickBooks specialist trainings. Now, with that all being said, as a summary of today's conversation, I really think the world of Jenny. She is very similar to many of the people that I've had the opportunity to work with over the last 20 years. Basically, I've worked with people that have accounting degrees, accounting experience, that literally go and transition from being in the business corporate world into starting and building their own businesses. But then there's so many just like Jenny that kind of stumble into the profession, whether it be through career choices and work or schooling later in life. She went from being a very happy, successful stay-at-home mom to now having a thriving accounting and tax business. Listening to that story and seeing how it is so relatable and how it is so feasible, it's kind of like a second life. You've got your life, in her case, for 15 years being a homemaker, and in doing so, raising her children, but then starting this secondary life that she's now an entrepreneur. She's what I refer to as an accountrepreneur. She's definitely going out there offering accounting and tax services. And she had to adapt during the COVID season. Starting her business and having all those changes was a surprise and a challenge, and she adapted well. And in that, she found her space and has grown her business accordingly. I think there's a lot of inspiration from what she was able to actually achieve. And I am very grateful for her sharing that. Her advice of it's worth it and how it actually has affected her life. She now has this accountant speak, a new vocabulary. She's got the confidence that she's been wanting to have, and it's different than the mothering that she was doing earlier. But also at the same time, think of all the success she's having as she's doing these things for her clients, serving their needs, being that bearer of good news of the tax savings that they were able to experience. That's very rewarding and can feed that passion that we each need to tap into when things can be hard. So loved what she shared. I thought there were some excellent nuggets in there, and I appreciate her sharing those things. But Jenny, as we wrap things up, what closing thought would you have for everyone?
The final thoughts I have, it really going back to people wanting to be heard and feel noticed. That's really what the client relationship centers on. When we listen to our clients and what's important to them, it helps us to tune into how we can best help them. And when they feel heard, they feel important. That's really what I noticed that is one of the biggest factors in making my clients happy and satisfied. And happy clients are loyal clients. Loyal clients not only stick with you, but they tell everyone about you. So, really to build your business, you have to make people happy. And that client relationship is the center of everything we do.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Everyone, as you're listening to this episode, I encourage you to subscribe and at the same time, listen to our next episodes. We publish these each and every week. And for more information on how you can apply these principles in your business, visit us at universalaccountingschool.com or give us a phone call at 801-265-3777. And always remember this, if it's about accounting, it is universal. Take care and have a great day.